Hi, and thanks for dropping into the boardroom. My name's Kizzi Nkwocha, and I'm the editor of Customer Strategy. Now, my first guest is certainly no stranger to the world of customer service. He's a former professional football player, and he also happens to be Vice President and General Manager of RightNow Technologies, a company renowned for developing customer relationship management software for enterprise organizations. Joe Brand's originally from South Africa, but recently became a United States citizen. He splits his time between a home in the UK and in the United States. Joe, thanks for joining us. Tell us something of your earlier years at places like Seance, Edify and Allspex. How did you become Senior Vice President Worldwide Field Operations for Allspex Systems in '94?
Well, I've actually been in the computer industry for nearly 30 years, and I've seen a lot of changes in the computer industry. Where initially we had the mainframe era, then afterwards we had the advent of the PC coming out, then the move to client-server operations, and now we're into the new generation, which is all about the cloud. When we saw the move to client-server operations, at that time you started to see a huge growth in storage. And I worked at a company called Allspex Systems, which was the leader in what was called network file server storage. And ironically, in today's world on the internet, it's where you store all your internet files. The whole focus of Allspex was how we could enable people to get access to files that stored away very quickly, which typically you do in today's internet world.
You joined RightNow in 2005. What have been the major changes for the company over the past 5 years?
We've been on a roll. The momentum's absolutely with RightNow at the moment. If you look 5 years ago, we were just moving out an era where we were talking about web self-service. That's where we started. And all of a sudden we realized that it wasn't just good enough to be able to give people the ability to get information themselves, and if they got some information, they then wanted to come back and maybe talk to the call center, and we need to make certain that the call center agent provided the same information that the people could do themselves over the internet. So we added assisted service technology to our web self-service technology, and we could marry the two together. And we introduced that in about 3 to 4 years ago. And we've now got to the point where we've seen not only self-service technologies be complemented by assisted service technologies, and now we've seen the advent of the social media world, and what we're finding is that consumers want information not only through what they can get from their supplier, but they want to ask other people as well as what they think of the product or what they think of the service as well. So many of our consumers or consumers of our customers are going to the internet and into the social media world to find information as well. So we've seen a rapid explosion of the whole area of providing information and servicing customers over the past 5 years.
Industry-wide, what would you say have been the major transformations in the way companies perceive customer relations in the UK?
I actually think if you looked around the various different industries of the UK, I think you're going to find it varies quite dramatically from industry to industry. And I think in some areas, like in the gaming industry, software games on your PC, if you think in the travel industry, they've embraced self-service and they've embraced customer service technologies very, very well. So you'll find people continually talking about, my flight's been cancelled, I can go online, I can use voice recognition, I can go to the web and I can see what's going on and I can book myself in and check myself in and it's actually happening. If you go to some other industries like the banking industry, I actually think the UK industry is still somewhat behind the rest of the world in terms of their embracement of customer service. In the banking industry, we still do things the same way. We go and queue up at lunchtime to wait to speak to a teller. Other parts of the world, the areas move on faster.
Now, there's a lot of buzz around RightNow, and 3 words seems to echo whenever you mention the company's name, the Cloud Service Agreement. Tell us about that. What is the Cloud Service Agreement and why is it important?
If you go back and look at, and I said I've been in the industry for 30 years, if you look at the sale of software over the last 30 years, the business agreement that gets put in place is a typical licensing agreement where you license on a perpetual use basis the right to use the software for a period of time. There's been tremendous innovations in the area of technology, but no company's come back and said, let's change the business model and give people the ability to get access to software easier and quicker. So what RightNow looked at the industry and said it's time for an organization to stand up and lead the industry, and we did that with the introduction of the Cloud Services Agreement. The first thing we need to do is have a contract that's in plain English, and we had our lawyers rewrite our contract in plain English. Second thing we did is we said, typically what organizations say is, well, you need to buy a certain number of seats or a certain number of licenses, and you need to project how you're going to use those seats or licenses over the period that you're going to use it. So, and we know in many industries they have cyclical periods. It could be Christmas time when you need more seats. It could be in the middle of summer, we need less seats. So we gave people the ability in the cloud services agreement to rebalance their usage over a period of time. So when you need more seats, you can have access to them. When you don't need as many seats, you don't need to use them. So we give organizations the ability every year to sit down and balance their usage. Third area is when you typically buy in a traditional master services agreement, there is a license for a period of time, and you've bought it for the 3 years or 5 years or in perpetuity. We actually said in the cloud services agreement, we'll give you the ability at each of every year to say, do you still want to maintain the relationship with us? So we've given organizations the ability to terminate the agreement for convenience at the end of each calendar year.
So the cloud service agreement, is it a gamble, and how will you know that it's worked?
What we've actually seen, and that's what we've seen since we introduced it in January of this year, is that many organizations are coming back to us and saying this is exactly what the industry needs. We've actually had some of our competitors turn around and say, call us up and congratulate us for leading the industry and actually changing the way consumers can get access to their services. So we wouldn't say we've taken a gamble. What we've said is the industry needs to move forward and start to doing business this way because it truly puts customer experience where it should be. And we actually believe it'll actually shorten the procurement cycles quite significantly because anywhere from 30 to 40% of the time in procurement was around negotiating the agreement, talking about termination for convenience, talking about usage models. And what we've done and what we've seen over the last 3 to 4 months is that period of time is now shortened quite dramatically.
Thanks for that, Joe. And before we go, a quick prediction. What does 2010 hold in store for RightNow?
We're excited about 2010. 3 areas. Number one, we introduced about 2.5 years ago the concept of introducing new releases to our solution every 3 months. We're introducing a lot new features in 2010, like going into the mobile world. So you'll see more releases from RightNow, at least 4 in 2010. We've done February 2010. You'll see May coming out with mobile features and a couple of other areas, as well as August and November 2010. So more features and more functionality to our software. Number 2, the social media world will become more and more tightly integrated into the social media world, giving our customers the ability to understand what their customers are talking about so they can listen to their customers. Then they can decide on how they want to embrace the social media world from a customer strategy perspective. So that's the second area 2010 brings to us. The third area is something we've introduced called a Client Success Manager. Many customers have purchased our solution, and what we're now doing is adding CSMs or Client Success Managers to our field force. And these Client Success Managers will be working with our customers to make certain they get the best use of the solution for their particular needs. So the CSMs will be analyzing how they're using the software. They'll be making recommendations on best practices as how they could use the solution, and then coming back and advising them on future features coming out. So the CSM will enable our customers to focus increasingly on their customers' experience and give them greater success with the use of our solution. And finally, we've been a lot more successful, and we're on a roll in 2010, and we can see the pace of innovation changes even faster in 2011 and beyond. As we go to the next area, we start to tightly integrate self-service with assisted service and the social media world.